that everyone, you're voting to keep your cameras on. And if you're voting via Zoom, please say your name too when you're making a motion or approving. Hey, I see that we have a couple of guests here with us today. Welcome. We have County Judge Executive Dennis Harper from Allen County and County Judge Executive Phil Baker from Logan County. Now go ahead and turn it over to John.
All right, good morning, everybody. We have quite the, what's that? I can't hear you.
Oh, the new board members.
Oh,
We can do introductions real quick.
you want me to do it?
Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Well, good morning, everybody. We have quite the crowd here in the room with us today. So really happy to have everybody here and also online. Let me start with a couple of introductions. We've got 3 new board members joining us today. So Justin Browning is with us. He is from Barron County Schools. We've got Amy Thomas here with us today, Butler County, and with the GED program. And then I'm looking to see, it doesn't jump out at me immediately, but Whitney Choate is our newest board member from Hart County, and she's with Hart County Schools. And we are really happy to have all 3 with us. I personally recruited each of them because they are very active in their respective communities and will bring a lot of value to this board. So welcome. Okay, so on that subject, it was my intent with our 3 new board members to onboard you before today, and I just didn't get to it. But that said, and I will get to it. But that said, this is kind of an interesting board meeting to come in on, because what we always do in February is present what we want to do for the year. And one of the things we do as a local workforce board is we have a strategic plan that we have to write every few years. And in that strategic plan, we have 4 strategic goals. And we run our board meeting around these 4 strategic goals. Typically, what we do is we do our business and our voting actions up front, and then we will get into our strategic goals on the back half of the board meeting. So for today in February, we're going to present out to you the goals and the key performance indicators that we're going to shoot for this year. So it'll be a good chance for everybody to see the comment on what we're aiming to do as an organization. But before we'll get into that, but first we've got voting actions, and today I actually have way more voting actions than normal. On a typical board meeting, we might have 1 or 2 voting actions. Today we have 6. So I'm going to ask you to just be patient and pretend you're interested through some of the subject matter, because some of it's a little bit dry, but it's necessary for us to get through. All right, that concludes my comments.
So everyone be on their toes this morning. Our first order of business is to approve the December 14 meeting minutes. Board members should have received and reviewed those minutes. Does anyone have any questions regarding the minutes? If not, can I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Who was the first motion? I'm sorry.
Phil Baker, Judge-Exec, Logan.
Thank you very much, Phil. And seconded by Teresa. All in favor, say aye.
Well, technically.
We can't vote.
Yeah, sorry, Judge, thank you, but board members have to be the ones that make the motion.
So we'll have the.
That's fine.
Motion, okay. And then.
I motion that we accept the minutes. Beverly Ford.
Okay. And I'm gonna put Teresa's second outside. Okay, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Okay, the next item of business is the executive committee updates from January 11th. We had a lot of items on our agenda that day. Our meeting, I think, lasted well over 2 hours, didn't it, John? The first item that we went over was the compensation study. In our November meeting, we asked John to investigate the cost of what it would be to go get a new compensation study. The last one we had was in 2021. So John got that bid together for us, and it came back at $8,500. And we were very high. Since we just had that done 3 years before, we decided to table that until the end of this year. Next, the executive committee, we conducted John's evaluation. We're very proud to say that we determined that John exceeded expectations for 2023. And in conjunction with that evaluation, we also considered and awarded him a 4% raise. The executive committee, we next considered to request an increase in the new American Navigator salary by 5.8%. Originally, 3% was authorized. Our committee unanimously concurred that this request given was needed due to Anna's success and increasing levels of responsibility that she's taken on. So congratulations to Anna. Next, John informed our committee that the tornado grant has been extended for one more year, and that board has received an additional $1 million in funding to utilize in 2024. And yeah, that was great. Last, John provided updates on the mid-year contract review and provided a preview of all of our 2024 activities. And that's all I have to report. And turn it back over to John.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we're going to get into the first of 6 administrative voting actions. So the first one here is to direct contract for an external auditor. So by law, our organization has to be externally audited every year to look at our financial practices in our record. So our last we've gone with CM CPAs out of Lexington for the last couple of years, and 2 years ago in 2022, we direct contracted them for 2 years to do the audit. So they did our audit in 22 and 23. The negotiated cost of each one of those audits was $22,000. And so that 2-year contract we had came to an end after the last audit, and it's time to get a new contract. So just as I prepared for this meeting, I touched base back with Regina Jackson, our lawyer, just to make sure that I was on track with the direct contracting piece of this. Typically we have to go out and do a request for proposal process. But in this case, the Kentucky Model Procurement Code allows for us to do a direct contract because we're seeking services from a licensed professional in a very technical area. So we can do a direct contract, and then our own internal procurement policy allows us to pursue direct contract. So with that said, my ask today, if you want to build, Brian, would be that that the board allow me to seek bids, negotiate, and enter into a direct contract with a CPA firm to conduct an annual external audit of our financial records and practices.
I make that motion that will allow John to proceed with necessary whatever he needs to do for the audit.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, TJ. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Beverly made that easy on you, John.
She did whatever I need to do.
I did a session with MCM.
Yes, I'm going to do my best to get at least 3 bids. There's not. It's a little bit hard to find CPAs that audit federal funding like this. So I'm going to do my best to get at least 3 bids, and then and I will definitely bring that back to the executive committee and share with them what we're looking at.
This wasn't sure if they were allowed to bid it since they.
I don't know of anything that would prohibit them from bidding.
Was there any concern that you had regarding their audit or any qualm that you might have going back to them?
No, not really. I mean, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I mean, we've gotten to know them pretty well, and they've gotten to know us. So every year they audit. I mean, we have a schedule, and they kind of come in twice. They come on site twice and do their thing, and it's been really smooth.
And as the chair of the audit committee, I felt like they were really great to work with. Is what I think it's in all of our cases. I felt like they were really thorough. Their explanations.
Thank you.
Could
TJ.
you announce the names of who's speaking in the room since, we can't see them?
I'm sorry, that was.
I heard TJ, but I don't know who was speaking before TJ.
That was Bob Bills.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, Bob had asked if we had any qualms, and I said no, and then TJ shared her experience as the chair of the audit committee.
Yeah, I just didn't know who it was speaking. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Beverly. Okay, so the next agenda item is mid-year WIOA contract review. So let me just set the stage for this. We've had a contract with Career Team since 2018. The last time we did a new contract with Career Team, who provides our WIO services, was back in 2021. Written inside of the contract is a requirement to do a mid-year review, and we really were not very disciplined about that until last year. So last year we went through the process of doing a thorough mid-year review, and then we've repeated that process again this year. Last year we delivered the mid-year review to the board in April, which is well past the mid-year point. This year it was my intent, like, we've got to deliver this mid-year review in February. And the reason is because this contract runs through the end of June, and I want to give us time to look at the mid-year review, and if we decide there are course corrections or things that need to be addressed, we have time to get them addressed before we make a decision on renewal of the contract. So if you look there at the bottom, you know, the idea today is to look at the mid-year review, and I'll go into some detail on that. There's some corrective actions that I would like to see that I'll present to you. The idea is we come back in April and make sure those corrective actions have taken place. And if we're ready in April, we'll vote on it. If we're not, we've got the June board meeting to vote on it. I will say overall, although I'm going to be critical here in a minute, I am overall very satisfied with the performance of the contract. There are just a few persistent concerns that I've got that I want to see addressed to move the performance of the contract into a better place. So let's go forward a slide, please. So I'm gonna touch on 4 areas on the assessment of this contract. The first one is service delivery. Overall service delivery is very good. Matt and his team do a great job. Overall, they've got a great reputation, and we're very proud of that. 2 small areas of improvement that I do want to see in terms of service delivery is we need to get a customer experience feedback process in place with the folks that Career Team serves. And then this is specific to Shannon. Shannon is our career coach on call, and she moves all throughout the 10 county region, and she sees and helps a lot of people, and which is very, very helpful and important. However, I don't know that any of the folks that Shannon sees or serves end up in Key Suite, which is the state system where you document what you're doing. And so I think there's a large number of people that we know they're being served, but nobody above us sees it. So, you know, my ask is going to be that Shannon, that we start getting that documentation taking place in Key Suite. So in terms of quality assurance, this is an area that needs improvement. This has been we do internal audits every year, and this persistently is an area that we say needs improvement. And so we haven't seen tremendous improvement in this, and I need to start seeing that. So what I'll say, the plan of action, what I'm proposing today is that no later than April 1st, I would like Career Team to present a quality assurance action plan and tell us how are our career advisors going to improve the quality of and timeliness of the work that's involved in case management. Let's go to the next slide. The next 2 areas I'll touch on. Staffing levels, this is also a concern. We historically, for a long time, we had at least 4 full-time career advisors between 2019 and 2022. Specifically in February of 22, 2 years ago, when we received the tornado grant, we wrote into our grant proposal a full-time career advisor position for Career Team, and that position was never filled. Last summer, we were at the beginning of last summer, we had 3 career advisors, and then we dwindled down to 2 career advisors. And so we've been running on 2 full-time career advisors since last summer. And to me, this is completely insufficient. We have consistently managed a budget anywhere from $2 to $3 million over the last 5 years. We are serving lots and lots of people, and we're down to 2 people managing quite a hefty caseload. And some of this plays into what I just talked about before in terms of quality assurance and so forth. So in my mind, we have got to add a 3rd full-time career advisor immediately. And that's part of the plan of action I'm proposing. Lastly, financial management. This is a bit of a growing concern. Last summer we had a little bit of, last summer we were working through a planning budget for the year that had us losing about 9% of our funding. And so we were, there was a little bit of uncertainty going on last summer of what this is going to look like. But at the same time, as an organization, we were submitting lots of grants and developing lots of contracts. So really since last August, we've brought in over $1.4 million above and beyond we owe us. So we've got a healthy amount of money in place. Now that said, myself, Holland with National Label, who's our fiscal agent, and Matt and Dr. Boone and the CFO from Career Team, we hold a call every 2 weeks and go over our financials. We talk about invoices. We talk about what's going on. We talk about the budget, but lately we've just gone in circles. My view is we have lots of money. There's no reason we don't have the money we need to hire a 3rd full-time career advisor. I've gotten some pushback from the CFO at Career Team who wants to have a different conversation about, that she doesn't see it. So, but I do see it, and that's what I want. I want a 3rd full-time career advisor. I want to get this fixed. We have worked this budget. We know there's plenty of money in the budget, and we need to do it. And there's one other aspect on this, and I'll touch on this again at the end. When we get our WIOA funding, that's the routine money we get from the federal government. There's 3 lines of funding: youth, adult, dislocated worker. And that money comes in in buckets. It doesn't come in all at once. And a lot of time when you get your main bucket of money is usually 5 months after the beginning of the year, or after the beginning of the program year. So it just comes in. It just comes in a wonky way. But yet you've got a plan for it, and you got a budget around that. Historically, what we've done as an organization is when we get this money, we've historically always planned to use it all up by the end of June. But in reality, when we get this money issued to us, it's good for 2 years. And so where I've been trying to move everybody is we cannot just use this money up. We've been in the habit of using it up within 12 months, and we actually need this money to last at least 15. If we can have a budget plan that allows us to manage this money over a 15-month period, then we give ourselves sustainable routine funding. And then it doesn't matter when the money kind of shows up from the federal government and the state. We can have sustainable funding. Last year we were pushing through, we had to tighten our belt last summer because we had to carry over money into last summer, or we were going to have to tighten our belt. The summer before that, we really had to tighten our belt because we didn't have money. The money was getting low, and we didn't have it coming in for several months. So anyway, that's all part of this conversation on financial management. We've got to move our budget and the way we manage our money to at least 15 months. So, but this has been for the last 18 months, this has been a conversation round and round and round on it. Okay. Any questions? I know I spent quite a bit of time on that. So-
I know you said that you're overall pleased and that you were gonna cover these things, but is the timeline that you said of approval, does that allow if for some reason that we need to do something different?
can,
Like, I think it said, approve it on April. I think the contract ends. So is there enough time and buffer in there? You need anything different in that time frame is all I'm asking.
oh, yeah,
I think you're generally pleased and it's progressing in the way that it would be approved, right?
right.
I just wanted to make sure there was
I-
enough time there.
I think with this request that I'm putting up, there, I think what I'm gonna ask for is that we consider renewal in April. But before April, that would be contingent upon, I'd like to see two things met by April first. One is that we get this third full-time career advisor put in place. We've got 60 days, roughly 60 days to do that. And that a quality assurance plan is presented. And so, I mean, if I could come back to you in April and say, yes, the career team has followed through on these things and everything else I'm pretty satisfied with, then hopefully that gives you the level of assurance that you need to renew the contract.
What if the answer is no? Does it give you
Well-
enough time to
Well-
replace career team? I mean, if they just, and I'm not saying they would do this, but if they would just say, we're not hiring a third advisor. You know. And that's a line in the sand with you. Okay,
April would be tight if we had to do that, because then you have to go through a request for proposal process. There's gonna be a whole process that's involved.
yeah.
And how long would it take?
And we certainly don't want to.
No, no.
I don't think I'm asking for too much here, unless Matt or Robert disagree.
I was really, if there was additional things that would need to be actions that would need to be taken between April and June. I mean, I assumed we were on track to approve it. I just didn't know if it had the timing, I mean, just at a glance. I mean, hiring somebody by that time could actually be tight if they haven't already been working on it. Just talking about my HR background.
If Matt came to me and said, listen, we're in the final process, I mean, I think I'd have a level of confidence.
Okay.
Yeah, if he shows good faith in filling the position.
Right.
Just because the position's not filled by April first, doesn't mean it's, you know, no go.
So John, my question is, how long would it take if we chose not to, renew that contract to get another one in place?
60 to 90 days, I would say. And then obviously if you bring in it, I really don't want to have this conversation, but if you had to bring in a whole new WIOA provider, of course, you know, it's going to take them the better part of a year to really kind of get their ceiling or really get up and running into a satisfactory manner. And that's certainly, I mean, that's just the reality of it. And we certainly don't want to get to that point.
Yeah, well, it doesn't sound like an unreasonable request to hire another party if we feel like we need another person in that office. So, you know, as you say, you just have to tell them what our needs are, and if they can't fulfill them, then we have to move on.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I make a motion to approve the president CEO recommendations for this action.
Thank you, Teresa. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Bob first. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Doing good so far.
All right, I don't know if I'm on time or not, but okay, we'll keep moving. Okay, so there's,
John,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just had a really quick question on when you were talking about the quality assurance and feedback. Is there anything in there that shows I would need to be a part of that? Just because I think, you know, it needs to flow through all of us. I don't want them coming up with their own feedback thing and we've got 20 feedback things. Like I am more than willing to assist with that. I just wanted to sort of get that on the record on the the quality assurance part.
All right, thank you, Leslie. Duly noted. Okay, so we're gonna go through four policies as quickly as possible. So just to set this conversation up, though, we have a governance committee. That governance committee met on January 25th to dive into these four policies. So I'm going to try to go through these as quickly as possible. But at any point, any time, if anybody has any questions or concerns, please raise them. But do know that the governance committee did look at these, and it was a great meeting with some great recommendations that came out of it. And then what they did was they basically endorsed all four to move forward to the full board so that we could vote on these today. So the first one is an amendment to our National Dislocated Worker Tornado Relief Policy. So just to set this up, when our organization received tornado funding after the December 2021 tornadoes. That funding came through in early 2022, and we had to put a policy in place that helped provide some guidelines on how we were going to utilize that money. So this specific amendment is very narrow, and I'm going to drill in on, and what we did with the governance committee is we drilled down on one narrow issue that we wanted to amend. So it has to do with supportive services, and supportive services allow us to, for people that are eligible for this money, allow us to do things like get them uniform items or child reimbursement or mileage reimbursement, or in this case, we had a provision in there that offered assistance with housing needs, because at the time, there were a lot of people displaced. We had written into the policy that somebody could qualify up to $5,000 in supportive services, and they could use that if they needed assistance with housing. That could be, paying a down payment on rent in a new place or whatever. And so 5,000 at the time seemed very reasonable for assistance with housing needs. Let's go forward a slide, Brian. And to just get like super technical, on the left, you see WIOA and what our policies say in terms of short-term training, work experience, and then down there on the bottom left, supportive services, and what those limits are and what the categories that we'll cover. And then as a point of comparison on the right, you see how the tornado policy compares. And go build one, Brian, and you'll see on the supportive services for the tornado that we had written into our policy, assistance with housing needs, a $2,500 limit. So even though there's an overall $5,000 limit on supportive services in general, we had capped assistance with housing needs at $2,500. Okay, let's go forward a slide. Okay, so what we want to do is we need to bring this down, right? So that there on the left, it currently says we can spend up to $2,500. Let's go one more. And I want to bring this down to $1,000. What's happened is we are 2 years removed from the tornado. Nobody really needs $2,500 for housing needs. And what's happened is that we've been doing a lot of work in recovery centers, and the word is out, and we are getting lots of people coming in and taking advantage of this $2,500 in housing assistance. And it's just it's gone a little bit bananas, and I need to rein that in. And the way I want to rein it in is, one, we're not going to exceed $1,000 in assistance, and two, the second to last bullet there on the right is that if there's anybody that has an ask that's over $600, it has to come to me personally to sign off on.
How do you communicate that to people that were getting the 2,500 and now they're getting just saying sorry?
That's it.
Okay.
Right. That's, I mean, that, and this, again, this is the guidance. This policy is what, for Matt and his team and his career advisors, we put this policy in place, so they've got it in black and white, what they can and cannot do with individuals.
Participant generally does not know, we don't tell them what the limits are.
Oh.
Tell them what the limits were, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Maxed out.
Yeah.
So we keep that part to us and let them know when they get where you reach your cap, if they get there.
We're trying, we're trying to be responsible stewards of this funding and we, you know, we want to help people in need, but we also don't want to be taken advantage of. So anyway, that's the purpose of this amendment. Brian, if you build one, I think it'll bring up some a proposed motion, if anybody,
I have a question.
yes.
Would it be beneficial to add the word permanent housing versus transition?
I don't know.
No, because I think about
I don't think we have any,
a lot of the clients that I served in the past, and I think about the housing needs. And I think about the cost of living right now. And so, you know, our rents have now gone 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, right? So if you're trying to get into an apartment, you know, if you're talking, and even if you're in $900 apartment, $900 first month's rent and deposit, that's 1,800 right there, not including utilities. And so 1,000 may not accommodate or assist those truly in need. So if you were to, I mean, I'm just making a suggestion or a proposal, maybe that we change the verbiage in there. We don't want to serve just transitional housing to permanent and leave some of the funds in there, the amounts in there, if that makes sense. Because, you know, when you're looking at the rents, they've gone up astronomically. And then, you know, with the credit, you know, the utility companies have now gone to, several years ago, they went to a soft credit. So if you've never had utilities in your own name, you're gonna pay what they call red, which is the highest amount. Or if you've had slow payment, you're gonna pay the next highest amount. So it's only if you've had utilities in your name and they have been long-term, and you've paid your bills on time, which usually individuals, lower income individuals haven't done so, they're gonna pay the maximum amount. And it can be humongous just to get the lights on. And so when you factor that into first month's rent, deposit and housing, 1,000 won't go very far. Just,
Matt,
So what do you think?
I'm gonna defer to Matt.
So TJ, you're saying increase the limit if it's permanent housing?
wasn't gonna say increase it, but perhaps leave it at the 2,500 and just change the verbiage to say permanent if you want, or put two different amounts in there.
Yep.
You know, you'll help with $600 or $1,000 in transitional, or you'll 2,500 in permanent.
Yeah, but I would say we definitely need to leave the transition, or we do help with permanent. I mean, it's not all transitional.
Yes,
The thing with transitional housing is we are often their second stop
right,
when
right,
they've left Warren County Jail. They've gone and
Yes.
to their sober living facility and gotten their lease.
yes,
We're their next stop.
yes,
They're not gonna work. They're probably not gonna work that first week. They're probably not gonna start, you know, and then it's gonna be 2 or 3 more weeks
Right.
before they get a check. The landlords at these solar living facilities
yes.
they're on it and they put them out.
And I guess I want to make it clear, I'm not necessarily proposing that we exclude that population that don't help. But the higher limit for those who are truly in need for permanent housing,
Mhm.
you know, is vastly different. That amount is different.
Yes.
To me than the $100 a week they have to pay, $200 a week in the transitional. So, you know, I have a concern about dropping the 25 down to 1,000 for those who are truly in need. So perhaps if you did the 2,500 and then do the other, you know, so you put two different amounts and they had to come to you anyway, then it would be at your discretion. If that makes sense, because those who are truly in need, that $1,000, that'll barely cover the deposit on utilities, to be honest with you. In our area, especially with the expensive housing. And even your housing authorities, you know, your housing authority, your other, based on income, they've all gone to fair market. And because fair market in our area is so high, even those are, you know, not cheap for some people. So it's just food for thought for the board to think about.
Yeah, your points are well taken. This could be very complicated very quickly based on which county you're in, based on which situation you're in. And then our folks have got to really try to discern different layers or different levels of qualification. So,
Hey, John, this is Rebecca.
yes.
I guess a couple of things, because it does get complex. We only have, this tornado money for, until it runs out unless somebody, gives us some more. So then the question becomes, do we spread the money further or not? But I would think that we could leave the, the way that you're, looking at this. And because you can get past $1,000, they just need to come to you. So you have a singular place to begin to feel whether this is going to be, a large issue. And then you can, then you can come back and say that we need to look at this amendment again, because there were more exceptions than, there are us being able to meet the needs of all of the folks out there.
Thank you, Rebecca. I see Beverly has her hand up.
Yeah, I do want to speak on it. Of course, I'm with TJ. I think we should stay at the level we're at. We received a second grant, I'm sure, because we were helping people. And I'm sure they took that into consideration, because that's what they want us to do with that funding. And to say we're going to regulate it makes no sense to me. If the purpose is to help people, and that's what we're doing, and we all know how high rent is in Warren County. It's just getting almost as bad here in Cave City. I don't know how people are going to afford it. And if we can assist, and apparently the state felt like that we were doing a good job at that, and that's who the money needs to be appropriated to, so that we could continue to provide those services, then I think that we should, rather than trying to hold on to it by saying, oh, we're only going to give 1,000 to you, but if you come see me and I feel like you need more, I'll give you more. To me, that's, I don't think that's very fair at all, but that's my opinion.
Do we have any idea off your head how much?
That's usually, it's about $560 a month, or for 4 weeks. It's $140 a week. At most places, some of them are 160, some of them are 125. But it's typically $560 for 4 weeks. That's usually where we're cutting it off, because we're not just, it's a transaction. You've got to do something to show us that you're trying to get better. So we usually cut it off there. If we get to the end and we can see that a person's been doing what they're supposed to, and they have been trying, and they need like an additional 2 weeks of help, we will do that.
So we're not generally approaching 2,500 per person.
Not anymore. I think early on in the tornado grant, there were some. Because there wasn't a cap on the single transaction, and there wasn't a $1,000 cap. He's 2,500.
I guess in my mind, just being in the supportive service realm that I was in the past for several years, like, to me, paying their rent for a month or for 2 months, but then they get on their feet and they're ready to go to permanent housing, and they're out of luck because they burn all their funds up on a short-term transitional housing, and then they struggle even more to get into the permanent housing, if that makes sense. And so, that's my thought process around it. It's just, if we put I think you have to have a clear-cut guideline written just for fairness sake for everybody. But, if you put in there up to 1,000 in transitional money, period, if it's transitional housing, and up to 2,500 if it's permanent housing, for no more than 25 total, that's a pretty clear outline for everybody. That's a pretty clear guideline.
So do we have the guidelines for the tornado grant as to how we would distribute? Or is that kind of open?
It, Beverly, it's fairly open and it's, you know, that's, and so locally, we came up, it's open, but we came up with our own policy to govern it. And that's what we're looking at today is, you know, what is our policy currently says assistance with housing not to exceed $2,500, and it's pretty open-ended. And the amendment is seeking to, that's being proposed is just seeking to narrow that down a bit. But it sounds like we may need to table this and revisit it with some refined language.
Would it be possible to just add the language that you have on the left side that says should not exceed $1,000 unless waiver granted? That gives you the authority to make that decision. And then if needed, it can go over 1,000.
But not to exceed 2,500. And that certainly is that.
It sounds like good language.
I still think verbiage for transitional and for permanent housing, which should be added somewhere, just for
So permanent
clarification.
housing, you're saying it can go up to 2,500, if suggesting, and transitional housing, you can add the 600, not to exceed 1,000.
That's kind of my thought, because it doesn't exclude that population, because yes, they may need help, but it also is incentive for them to not sit still for and wait for us to pay. Does that make sense? Like you said, they gotta be doing something, but I think that would help more people have a more meaningful impact. Like in my direct client service years of 30 plus. Yes, I'm part of the furniture. Y'all heard me say that around here in this region, but like, it's like I can put you in a hotel and I can pay $150 a night and we can burn through your money. But at the end of the day, when you burn your money and you come out of that hotel, I'm not helping you really, because you're still gonna be back out on the street. But if I can help you with permanent housing, where I can pay your deposit in your first month's rent, help you with some utilities, and I can help get you in a job and get you stable, then you're in permanent housing. And so, you know, we have to weigh that out. So that would be my thought process, is if we could, it's sort of the same with the transitional housing, in my opinion, but if we categorize both, I think it would.
So TJ, you want to make a proposal? You want to make a motion?
Let's do it.
So I think either one.
Well, let's see if I can make the motion. Let's see if I can verbiage this right, Miss Beverly. Let's see. Okay, so I would like to make a motion that we change the language in the guidelines for the tornado grant, and that we say that transitional or temporary housing benefits would not exceed $1,000 or $600. Wait a minute, I'm losing my verbiage here. That it would not exceed 600, or it would need to come to you for no more than $1,000. And that we leave the service at $2,500 for those seeking permanent housing. And clean that up, because that's not necessarily the exact, but
Okay, well,
so I'd like to make a motion that we entertain that verbiage in the policy.
Do I have something on that? Second, right, thank you.
Rory seconded.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm gonna say opposed on that one. I'm not real clear on what we are approving here. I agree with John that we need more discussion offline before we put one through.
Yeah, this is Rebecca. I also oppose it. I mean, we could get with Abraham and, you know, the majority of these folks are probably going to work within the housing authority to get permanent housing or get help through the housing authority. And I think we probably need to understand more about what the dollars are that are being spent and we're not the only ones that help people get into the house. So, you know, how many dollars can any one person get with our money plus somebody else's money? So I think we need to have a conversation and get maybe a few more facts to get to that 2,500. Especially, we have to trust our folks also. If 2,500 was a really big deal after the tornado, then, and it's not now, then we probably should follow that trend depending on what is going on in the market. And I'm not sure we know what that is.
If I could comment back on the housing authority piece. So they have a waiting list that's about a year long, at last I heard. I'm not exact on that, but the waiting list to get in is a year long. And if you have felonies on your record, you're probably not gonna get in because of the HUD guidelines. So
Well,
that excludes a lot of the population as far as housing authority or housing based on income. I just want to share.
My point being, what house are they gonna get into if they have felonies?
Well,
Is an apartment,
yes.
is an apartment group out there, willing to help any felon that comes along? That, what you're saying, TJ, is a good point, but I think we need more information so that we can come back, and it may well end up that 2,500 is the right amount, but I'm not sure we know that now.
I think we need to do an official vote here with a hand raising, just to make sure, in case anyone, make sure we get everyone's vote. So,
We need to come on camera too.
okay. So do we just have to raise their hand? We can count them that way?
So we're in rare territory here where we have some in favor and some not. So I think everybody, if you're on Zoom, if you can turn your camera on so we can get a count for yays and nays.
Or could they put it in the comment?
Or put your vote in the comment section. We just have a way to document where you stand on this. So, I mean. Just say all in favor, all in favor.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I think we'll do the count, but I'll just go ahead and start with all in favor and then say the name and then I'll write those down.
Because I think.
Beverly Ford, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, TJ. Okay, Tori, you're still a yes? Okay. Okay. Who else is in favor? Okay, I'm gonna put the nays here, Gretchen, Chris,
Mason.
Mason.
I want to say I agree. I mean wholeheartedly that we need to consider what we're doing and how we're helping. And I agree with TJ, spending all the money on a hotel doesn't do anything for them in the long run. I just don't understand enough about it. I just feel like we need more information to decide the best way to amend, our policy on this.
Justin, where are you?
I would abstain and I would say that we should issue a motion to table this for further discussion. And let's come back to the next meeting.
Okay, John Eaton is Roxana is a war. Robin is more research.
Okay. Well, it looks like the nays have it. So if the nays, can we go ahead and,
Bob, do you want to make your motion?
Yeah, I would motion that we table this discussion, have John review with his staff and present a new motion or new. Yeah.
okay, okay.
This is Rebecca, I'd second that.
Okay, thank you, Justin. I think we have,
Or as TJ would say, words to that effect.
yes. So I think Bob made the motion and Justin seconded on that one. So all in favor of tabling this discussion and having John do a little bit more research on that?
Aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, thank goodness. Okay. Thank you, guys. That was great discussion.
Well, I guess,
Halfway through the policies, everybody.
I guess I'm coming from a direct line subject.
Yeah,
So
that's
I've
great.
lived in that world for so many years, where if you haven't lived in it and then you may not understand.
Yeah.
But that was the reason.
Okay, we'll go to the next policy. Hopefully this one's not contentious. Let's go forward, let's build. Okay, so very quickly, we applied for and received the Department of Labor Quest grant, which stands for Quality Jobs Equity Strategy and Training. We received $400,000 in that money, and like the tornado, when you get this specific type of grant from the Department of Labor, you need to have a policy that the career advisors and career team can utilize to guide who they serve. As I touched on this in December, for that 400,000, we made a case for 200,000 of it to serve justice-involved individuals and 200,000 to serve rural youth. And so we're going to be rolling out this year a program to do just that with this money. But first, we need to get a policy in place. So one other point on this Quest grant. What this Quest grant is it's really leftover COVID grant money. And so they basically have repurposed it under this new name. So as a technicality, when you get into this grant, there's a lot of COVID-ish language still left over within it. Okay, let's go forward a slide. Okay, and again, the governance committee has reviewed and endorsed the policy, and I'll just kind of hit it. I'll just touch on what it's going to look like. So as a point of comparison, again, on your left, what our current WIOA policies say, and then on the right would be what we've written into the Quest grant. So in the Quest grant, we've written in a maximum of $7,500 for us to pay for short-term trainings, a maximum of $7,500 to subsidize internships, a maximum of $7,500 subsidized OJT. And then in terms of supportive services, we are keeping that at $2,000, and it's going to mirror the supportive services that we do with WIO. And then a couple of notes at the bottom. You know, an individual may utilize an ITA, WEX, and/or OJT. That those could all be combined, but cannot exceed $7,500. And the overall spending on an individual will not exceed $9,500. That would be maximizing the training or internship piece and maximizing support services. So we wrote into the policy a maximum limit per individual. Let's build. I mean, so the policy is pretty straightforward. And again, the governance committee's looked at it and we sent it out to you guys yesterday. So I would ask approval on this policy as written.
Do you have a motion to approve the policy?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Get back in John's good graces.
All right, do you have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed on this? All right, motion carries.
Can I ask if the 8 counties have been identified?
Yes. For our 10 counties, it's the 8 counties minus Warren and Barron.
Boo.
I hear you.
Well, that being said, I think we could explain that some of the jails where we might be able to deliver program service sort of regional hubs and house from others, so there's a chance that some of the things can kind of mix a little bit.
The 8 counties is specific to the rural disease. And then the 200,000 for justice involved would be, that's open to all. Yeah.
What was the criteria of the was it just serve 8 and based on population?
Yes.
So grant wise, you can only serve 8. Out of region 10, or we chose to only serve 8.
Well, with the Quest funds, we chose to serve 80. But it doesn't mean we can't serve Barron County with the other funding streams that we've got.
I know my judge executives is going to ask me that question. There's 18 to 24-year-olds.
why would that not be something that they can consider as well, considering our economic climate?
Justin, absolutely. When we wrote the grant, we were competing for it, and we really focused in on rural counties, our smallest counties, and honestly, $200,000 for rural youth is not going to go very far over a 3-year period. So it's also a matter of just kind of had to bring that down a little bit so we could stretch the money.
So, excuse my ignorance, but I'm just asking a different question. Will that be, and it's probably in the grant proposal, is it distributed per capita?
We do not have any language in there about per capita.
So we have tried to do that.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah, I didn't know the question.
We didn't write that provision into the grant. It doesn't mean we can't look at it through that lens and execute it that way. So it's money that we have for 3 years, and really this year we're gonna try to pilot in 2 or 3 counties, and then learn from that, and then figure out how to distribute that out across all the other counties. Okay.
I have a quick question. This is Gretchen. So I just want to confirm that this 7,500 is total, right? I know you've already talked about that, but I couldn't hear real clearly. I want to make sure that's $7,500 total. And if you could spend it all in work experience, or it could be spent all in training programs.
Or a combination of the two.
Right, okay. And our goal is still, I mean, I know I sound like a broken record, but there are so many work opportunities. I hope that we are looking at work first and training last, because there are still many employers that will, do on-the-job training, and I would rather see that money go towards helping someone get a job and they're trained on the job, and we're, paying for that rather than paying for some training service that they may or may not get a job when they get out of it.
Yes, Gretchen. And so just to that point, we didn't really prepare a formal presentation on that today, but what we're really trying to pull off with this Quest grant is we're going to try to pilot a 1-week boot camp with our rural youth. We think we can do this 1-week boot camp with youth, with our reentry recovery population, but the idea in a 5-day period is to give them some soft skills training, to give them a little bit of financial literacy, to put them through a general OSHA 10, and then through a first aid. And so after 1 week, they're coming out with a first aid certification, an OSHA 10 certification, and we've done a little bit of work with them on soft skills and financial literacy. And then what we're trying to line up is employers that are going to be waiting in the wings to hire them once they complete that 1 week. So Gretchen, if 1 week is satisfactory to you in terms of getting, we're getting somebody to you that we think is got at least a little bit has been brushed up a little bit.
Right. And if we listen to what employers say in these meetings that we've had over the years, is soft skills is what's lacking, and that understanding. So, I mean, I think that's great. And obviously, if you're going to have, a cohort of people in this, it's going to be far under the $7,500. And that's kind of consolidating your costs and spreading it out. So yeah, 100% agree with that.
I do have a request. This is for the
time period on the Quest grant. It is basically now through September 30th.
Through 2026. Can I just put in a request that we have an evaluation period that says, after this trial run, it said 3 counties, and then maybe we have another 6 to 8 months moving forward from that we can reevaluate, because here's what needs to happen. I've seen it happen in different settings. Not all counties are going to take full advantage of that, but there are other counties that would take advantage of that because they have so much actively going on inside of that realm right now. So in order to maximize the use of that money for our region,
Can we reevaluate? Okay,
Justin, of course,
yeah,
we are not gonna return this money.
yeah.
We will maximize it. We'll reevaluate it.
Yeah.
We vote on this? You did.
We already did, yes.
Okay, so are we? Good to
I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, next one. All right, so while we had the governance committee convened, we asked them to take a look at two policies that have not seen any changes since 2017. The first one is our WIOA individual training account policy. And if you look on the left, what we've had in our current policy for WIOA for at least 6 years, if not longer, is a maximum limit of $3,000 per year to spend on somebody. Unless I'm authorized to approve over $3,000 at my level, but a lifetime limit of $6,000, and then that third bullet there is the max. They cannot exceed 4,000 in the given year. So it's a little bit confusing, but we've had this in place for quite a while. Since we had the governance committee convened, we did ask them to consider increasing those limits. You know, there's obviously been everything has gone up in price considerably since 2017 and 2018. So the governance committee looked at this, and you can see the new limits on the right, and they did endorse this to be brought forward to you today. Bill Ryan. So my ask is simply that it's a little bit wordy at the bottom. My ask is simply that we increase these limits as written on the bottom of the screen.
So I guess oftentimes you need to go over that one, right? Like what's you have like a number behind that?
Currently on the maximum limit of 3,000.
Yes.
The main one that I have to approve is CDL. $4,000. So oftentimes I've got to do that.
Okay.
I'll sign off on all the CDL.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve this revision?
Approve it.
Josh. Thank you, Josh. Have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Okay, next, and this is in the same vein, the next one we asked them to look at is also increasing the limits on work experience policy. Work experience is really, I use the terminology subsidized internship, but it's where we will pay for an individual that qualifies for WIOA to go into a place of business and get work experience, and we end up paying, we end up offsetting that cost to the employer. Technically we put them on Career Team's payroll, and we'll do that. The typical arrangement's up to $3,000, however many hours that gets them in that place of work. And so we're asking to increase it from a maximum limit of $3,000 to a maximum limit of $5,000. So that's today's request.
Do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to revise the work experience policy to increase the maximum to 5,000.
Thank you, Teresa. Have a second?
Second, this is Chris.
Thank you, Chris. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. You ready to go financial report?
We are ready to go to
Okay.
financial report.
All right.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you, Holly, for being here today.
Hey, good morning.
Thanks for coming.
So the financial presentation today is through January, and as we all know, that our fiscal year starts in July. So we are already in 7th month of our fiscal year, and then next few months we will be talking about the audits and the closing the year as well. So the annualized budget based on what we have the funding available is $2.9 million. So $41,404 year to date, which is a 7 months, but sometimes it's not very well proportional because some of the grants started late and what have you, but just to do the straight line. So we are supposed to utilize the revenue 1.6 or 1.7 this point. Actually, we have spent 1.284. As we know, the chief our funding is cost reimbursement. So it's not something that we spent less money, so we are losing anything. It's just how we incurred the cost and if we are able to build them, then we will get the cash back from the state and the other various sources we have. So $1.2 million, that kind of gives a revenue unfavorable variance, but since it's the cost reimbursement program, and I will explain to you in the expenses as well. This is not really what we are missing. It's just the timings or some of them as because tornado grant we just got in December, the approval for additional $1 million. So definitely the timing wise, it would take time, and we still have time to utilize that. But it's kind of driving factor for that variance as well. So I would not be concern at this point for the not or leaving anything on the table. That the goal is to, as John said earlier, that we've been maximizing the contract for the last couple of years. We're not leaving any money for any of the grants at up to this point. So the goal is still to utilize the funding 100% once the contract ends and what have you kind of thing. So next portion is just to sub-grantee. That is our career team. Their budget is $1.9 million. That's a combination of all the grants we give it to them. They have spent $1,087,000, but chiefly they are the chief factor utilizing the tornado grant and what have you. Since we just got the money, so it would take some time for them to utilize the money as well. So they are on the track for utilizing the other funding, but since the tornado grant came later, therefore is a favorable variance for underspending the money, but it's cost reimbursement. Once we utilize the funding, we will be able to get the money from state as well. The other details, the bottom with the board expenses, you can see that's a little bit more in details. Everything is pretty much in favor at this point. Board is like spending money. Everything is under control. It's supposed to be $600,000. They spent $569 through January, so the $33,000 is still. So we have some months where we have the more salaries and what have you, but chiefly the budget is based on staff salaries and benefits. That's the way all cost reimbursement programs are, but then everything kind of under control. So it does not leave anything on the table, bottom line. So you can see the bottom line is zero. It means whatever we have incurred up to this point, we are able to collect from states. Any question, any concern?
Khalid, this is Bob Bills. I
Hi,
imagine
Bill.
the variance on the benefits is purely because of timing of invoices?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And sometimes by the time you receive the invoice from the vendor, it could be late. And this is kind of actual presentation and actual details through January 31st.
Anyone else have any questions for Howard in the financial report? If not, can I get a motion to approve? Thank you, Bob. A second?
This is Rebecca, I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Holland. Okay, we can take a breath. Whew. All right, we got through the hard part. So we're a little bit behind on our time frame.
You gotta get pizza, I'm sure, don't you? When you leave there?
We'll get into the strategic portions, and as I said up front, this is where we're going to start to preview 2024 and specifically around our strategic goals. I'm just going to say this out loud for all of our presenters. We're about 18 minutes behind, so we're going to have to kind of snap through some of this. So that begins with let's build. So just for those that are new or those that don't remember, we have a methodology to how we present all throughout the year. We have 4 strategic goals. In February, today, we're going to preview those goals. April, we're going to talk about strategic goal number 1, our assistance to employers. June, we'll talk about how we assist students. In August, we'll talk about how we assist all of our other job seekers. And in October, that strategic goal is all about kind of stewardship of our federal funds. That's when the audit results come out. And then in December, we do a year in review. And let's go ahead and build. Just kind of build all through this, just kind of framing this year, managing our growth, we're looking at through the lens of 4 different buckets. Organizationally, right now, we have 5 folks on our team that are, quote unquote core that are funded primarily through WIOA. And then we've got 5 other folks on our team right now that are funded through various other grants. We do have a contract with Kentucky Adult Ed called Putting Kentuckians First. That contract runs through June 30th. And we think that contract will I'm very confident that contract's going to get renewed because that program is going very, very well. And so that contract is running through us, and primarily what it does is these Putting Kentucky First employees that work for Adult Ed, but they're on our payroll. They're just running that contract with us, and they're on our payroll. So we get to peel off a little bit of administrative cost, or a little bit of administrative funding off of that contract. And then this year, we've also got to renew our Fort Campbell position at Fort Campbell through the city and the county. Operationally, we're trying to deploy, again, push out from the Career Center. Putting Kentucky First has been a great vehicle for that. That's being pushed out all throughout the region. And what's beautiful about it is it brings all the different governmental agencies that are what are called title partners together when they push out. So it's our career development office, it's career team, it's Office of Vocational Rehab, it's Adult Ed, going out and meeting people and availing them of their services. Something that's new and exciting operationally is we are working on a regional high school senior hiring event. We don't have a really snappy name for it yet, but it's really kind of started with Whitney Cho's idea out of Hart County, and we're gonna talk about that more in a minute. But we want to run a regional high school event. This will be the first time we do this, and that's being planned in Cave City on May 7th. New American programming. We've got 2 staff. We have 2 people on staff, and you'll hear more about that in a minute. And then we've got a grant in the works that might possibly add a 3rd person. Compliance wise, we're doing pretty well, but I've already articulated through the mid-year review some of my concerns about case management and kind of getting that cleaned up a little bit better and adding another career advisor. And then financially, I've talked a little bit about we got to manage our money for more than 12 months. We got to manage at least 15 months. And then, as always, in the background, I am always working on revenue generation, grants, contracts, and other sources of income to supplement what we get in WIO. Let's go. So with all these things in mind, I'm going to present to you, we're going to start presenting our strategic goals. So last year we did this, and we're going to do it again this year. I always start with a couple of aspirational goals. These are things that are completely out of my control, but we're going to shoot for it anyway. So the first one is seeing if we can't receive some funding for youth out of the general assembly. So all 10 workforce directors in the state, we've been working on this since last fall. This just a couple of days ago, I was back in Frankfurt in the Capitol Annex, meeting with about 6 different representatives and senators. But I can't use the word lobbying, but we are pushing hard to see if we can't get the state to allocate funding for youth. And specifically what we want to do are 2 things. We want to serve high school seniors better because WIOA does not allow you to, WIOA really limits what you can do inside with in-school youth. And so if we can get this state money, non-federal money, we could get in and do a lot more work with our high school and career counselors and with those high school seniors. And the other pocket that we want to work on are disconnected youth. Disconnected youth are defined as 16 to 4-year-olds who are neither working nor in school. And so statewide, the goal is to across 10 regions to see if we can't get 4,000 of these youth into the workforce. So we've been making a pitch, and I don't know, we've never done it before. The state has never really funded workforce activities. And so a lot of this work has been introducing ourselves to state legislators who just are unfamiliar with who we are and what we do, and trying to give them confidence that we actually know what we're doing. And the second aspirational goal is, we began a data project last year around workforce participation with Josh Zazek, who's on loan to us from the Western Kentucky University Innovation Campus. And we want to try to take that to the next level this year. We want to see if we can't get into some modeling and forecasting, which is a little bit above our pay grade at the moment, but we're going to see if we can form some partnerships, perhaps with Western's data analyst program, to see if we can't take some of the really good data that we've got and plug it into some kind of forecasting program, and then deliver that information back out to employers because the workforce landscape is really changing. It is changing underneath our feet. Anybody that's in this business sees it. We're all wrestling with it. We're all trying to understand it. We want to try to understand it a little bit better and present that back to you. So those are the aspirational goals that we're going to report back on this year. All right, is this where I turned over to Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
Let me just say, I'm thrilled with everybody's engagement and leaning in. Don and I plan a lot, and so do a lot of other people that speak at this, but I love when board members speak more than we do. I'll just say more than I do. So I love that we've had this engagement. It's always, so important to have your investment in this, but this just shows, we're not going to show the running total so far, just, a little over a month into the year. But as you guys know, we did a very sophisticated report that Leslie had presented and graphically put together at the December meeting, right? Does anybody remember the number of the thousands of people that were engaged through our organization between Career Center, Career Team, Workforce Board? Anybody remember that count? It was 15,000. And less than a third of those came to the Physical Career Center. So there's just a lot of engagement that we're doing out and about in the community and in all the counties and the Career Team and everything. So it just goes to show why we talk so much about this and why we want to measure our progress. But you can see we are continuing a lot of the same data that we did last year as far as our engagement with employers. So just those numbers of engagements we had, and actually a new metric we just started tracking last year, which was the number of referrals that we could sort of take, credit for. So if we met with one job seeker and we can attest that they applied to 3 places, that counts as 3. Hiring events, that continues to be a very popular thing, and you'll hear Ms. Bianca talk a little bit about what our plan is here later in the event on that. And then just continuing to give help to and tactics to employers on these challenges that John just mentioned. So we want to continue to do that. But in addition, we've got some more project-based goals that we'll be coming to you with. And these sort of just going to go from we met it, we're in the midst of it, or we haven't started it yet. So that boot camp idea that John mentioned, that funding is going to help. Special internships for transitioning Fort Campbell soldiers. Your turn. We'll talk about that again here in a minute. We have a new grant that I'll also talk about in a minute, but that involves engaging employers. And then we don't have a great way to survey employers on their satisfaction. So asking, did you get all your hiring needs met is not really a fair way to assess how we're helping employers. If they come to job fairs, if they were pleased, and things like that. We can't control what happens from behind their table in their booth space, and what happens in their interview process after that. But as far as us getting them connected to the pipelines and their engagement with our staff, we want to be able to develop a way to measure that and get to know that we're on track and that we're meeting their expectations. So I'll pause here before we go into a little bit of a session that Bianca and Matt will talk about, but that's in general the goals that we want to come and present on each board meeting with you all concerning our engagement with employers. All right, and then here's our hiring event schedule. So I'll turn this over to Bianca.
So as you guys can see, we always have our hiring events kind of try to planned out for the whole year. Our biggest ones are called our Talent Tuesdays, and we enjoy those because we like to travel around to our 10 counties and just kind of let the community know what's in their backyard. So in case they're having transportation barriers, they don't have to worry about those things. So that is what we have scheduled for right now. My goal this year is to work more with our community partners. So in Monroe County, we have teamed up with the library there, and they have been very helpful. So we are planning that for next Tuesday, actually. I've already have some set up, for example, with Butler County. We always use adult ed with Amy. So we always feel like the help, Turning to our community partners for help has been very helpful and successful for our Talent Tuesday events. So like I said, we kind of have one planned out for each month. Some of those you'll see, we have two. We like in Barron County, we always partner with their Housing Authority's Hero Center and host a job fair at their Hero Center. Just like they mentioned, which Matt will go into detail about May, but we are having our regional job fair. So we're pretty excited about that and getting all of our seniors involved for that. And then as you can see in September, we'll still have our New American hiring fair that we always do. And then of course, we're still teaming up with Sky to host some talent fairs there as well. So we typically do those about twice a year. Our first one will happen in May, and then we'll do another one in October. So do you guys have any questions about our hiring schedule as of right now?
I don't, but I want to say I like that you're working with community partners and there's collaboration there. So.
Yeah, it's actually has been, Butler County was one of our most successful ones just because she always helps us get the word out. So we enjoy working with our community partners.
We really need community partner help because, you know, in some corners of our region, they still don't really know who we are, what we do. And so when you have a local partner willing to vouch for you, it helps drive traffic.
I have one question. Have you had in Monroe County, have you had any luck working with the Chamber of Commerce? Have they worked with you guys at all?
No, actually for Monroe County, I've been working with the Monica Edwards at the library, so they have been very helpful in helping us find different businesses. As of right now for Tuesday, we have 6 businesses signed up right now for our Monroe County one on Tuesday, and we're still working on getting more. So no, I have not had any contact with the chamber.
Okay. I was just wondering if they haven't been helping at all, because I know some people on there that I talked to let them know who you know we are and things. I didn't know if that was of interest or not.
Yes, I would love for you to do that, and I can make sure that you get my contact information as well, so you can get us connected.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
Would
that'd be
you
great.
type in my email to check, please? Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. We will always take the kind of introductions.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right, I'll go right along into strategic goal 2. Again, this has traditionally been how we are working with career pathways with students and mostly our high school and college efforts. And so you heard John say we don't have a dedicated position serving the students. That's going to come from the General Assembly if we can acquire that. So we can't put as much career services numbers and engagements to this, but there are plenty of times when we're getting into the schools and getting into classrooms. And then as you guys heard, we have the new grant, which is going to engage the rural youth. So we want to be able to give you guys some separated metrics on how our efforts are going with that. And we have more project-based things. So the regional job fair that we'll talk about here in a moment. And we have some school districts that just recently got awarded some pretty hefty grants, and they had engaged us either on the front end or after the announcement of that. So Allen County engaged us on the front end when they were applying. We had a meeting, we had a letter of support, and now we're going to be on a committee. So, but this is going to be for them to expand their career and technical education course offerings that they have in the school district there. So they will be relying on us for some data and information, maybe some employer connections and things like that. So that'll be a fun project. And then this Warren County Schools got a Community Schools Initiative grant that is from the Pritchard Committee, and that'll be focused on, I think, a grade school and a middle school. So we'll be lending some support to that throughout the year. So we'll keep you posted on those. And now we'll talk about this regional high school job fair that we've mentioned a couple of times.
Hey, everybody. Yeah, so really this was Whitney was the parent of this idea here. We do something similar every year for with the chamber here in Warren County, and they invite schools from Edmonson County, Allen County, Butler County, and then all those high schools here in Warren County when we do a big hiring event. So all of pretty much March and April, we are out visiting the schools. We're doing resumes. We're looking at positions they may be interested in. We're teaching them how to prepare for the interview. And that's through a series of mock interviews, or teaching them how to use to AI to find out their most likely questions. We'll continue those activities this year. A couple of slides back on Bianca's slide, you saw that there was 3 big events in May. So I'm glad that all the mid-year review stuff is due April 1st. So I gotta cram that in there too. But we'll be really busy in May, first with the Chambers event. That one usually soaks up a pretty good amount of time. This one here, so far you can see we've got Park County, Butler County, Caverna High School, Metcalfe County, Grayson County, Greene County. And we've invited probably 10 others. Some of them will be participating in a different event at the same time. Some of them are still gathering information to see if they're going to participate in this event. But pretty much this one will center around the Cave. I guess Cave City would kind of be the center of it. Hart County would be the center of the areas we've invited, from Edmonson County all the way up to Hardin, LaRue, and Grayson. Really, we're just trying to gather all the employers from these areas, and we've enlisted the help of the college and career counselors at each of these high schools to gather a list of employers. We've sent out a survey for students to see what type of employment they're interested in or what type of plans they have for after high school. And we are going to seek out employers based off of those responses. So far, we've only got about 233 responses, but we continue to add on to that. The goal here is to have employers come that have positions available for high school senior or high school graduates. So that's part of the criteria is they must have positions available, and those positions must be able to be filled by high school graduates. I believe we're still sticking to the morning hours being geared towards the students, and then in the afternoon, we're going to open it up to the public. So that'll be something new that we haven't done before, really, with a hiring event. Like I said, the goal here is for people to leave that event with a job or at least a second interview with a company. Any questions on that?
Say something because you're forcing me. I guess this just kind of grew from we had a career fair, and I was thinking we need to be doing this for jobs and job seekers, and trying to go at it as a regional approach to make sure that we can get, good employers there, and they'll have access to lots of kids, and our kids will have access to a lot of employers. The career team has done a great job of kind of helping us. This is a huge event in my mind, and I couldn't have went at it alone. So they've kind of taken the lead on a lot of those things. The plan is for them to work with employers to develop a common application so that when any employer there will accept that application, so that can kind of be done beforehand, as well as have an opportunity to have on-site interviews, which I think is a good sell for our kids, and just excited about it. And hopefully it's something that we can continue and do 10 years from now. So.
Yeah, I'll just real quick. We're really excited to be a part of this. You see at the bottom of this slide, EmployWord is our nonprofit. And so we're leveraging EmployWord on this because, we went ahead and prepaid the the leasing cost of Cave City Convention Center for the day. And then we will, as we kind of figure out which employers are participating, there will be a fee that we charge to employers so that we can recoup the cost of the convention center and some catering and things like that. But it's really been, this idea has just kind of come forth in the last 4 weeks, and it's really taken off. And we're still kind of in the early phases of planning, but it's already gotten some legs under it, and it's taken off. So we're excited.
Yeah, and I'll just add that, as Matt said, we partnered with the Bowling Green Chamber. So just to be clear, the SEK launch is really the Chamber of Commerce's event. We've lended some support with some employer contacts and some follow-up that happens afterwards. And as Matt said, his team goes out and preps with the students a lot before, but it's never as easy as just having a job fair, turning on a sign saying, all right, employers, who wants to come? And they come, and okay, students, who wants to come? Because that's a little bit like saying, I'm gonna have a big pizza party, and you find out you got half your audience that has a gluten allergy. Okay, what are they going to eat? So it takes some massaging and finessing to figure out what's the appetite of the students, what's the appetite of the employers, and if there's any incompatibility with that, then that's figured out before that event happens. So it definitely takes some planning, and it's a team effort. I know the college and career coaches do a hard job, and counselors to work with the students, but it's really geared towards who wants to work full time and giving them opportunities. So thank you all. All right, strategic goal 3, this has been more of our increasing workforce participation, focus population. So these are the 3 main ones that you see here that we work with. We work with people from all kinds of backgrounds, but as far as our board, we've got some dedicated staff positions focused on these 3 before you here. So with New Americans, very much, or for all of these, you're seeing some engagement numbers that we presented and tracked last year. And again, we're trying to keep up with number of known placements. That's hard. We can know when somebody's helped them fill out an application to 3 different employers, but getting those 3 employers to report back, or even that job seeker to, we do our best. And we were able to take credit for 10,000 referrals last year as a system between, again, career team and board staff and CDO office. So we're going to keep bringing you guys these numbers throughout the year, as well as these project-based things, and some of them haven't started yet. But I'm going to talk in a minute about the REAP program, and your term, we're going to give you guys a reorientation to that. But with the Quest grant, that's also going to help us focus on some justice-involved folks throughout our region. And then you can see here the Putting Kentuckians First. And so Michael Updegraff could not join us today. But this is a county by county engagement effort that John said earlier engages the core partners primarily and some other ones. But that model is turned on in 4 of the 10 counties in our region. We have these targeted orientation classes, which work very similar to how a rapid response would, where we're getting the core partners again to be on site at a place and promoting that we're going to be there. And that's happening in 4 of the 10. Pre-release classes, letting folks that are about to get released from jail know about all of the services that are going on. That was happening in 1 jail before COVID. It's happening in 6 of our 7 jails now. And then we also have ID programs that jails can control. And it looks like the numbers don't match up. We have 7 jails, but some of the jails serve the other counties where there are not jails. And so that's active in 8 of the 10 areas where it can be active. And so as anybody in the space would know, and TJ was touting her familiarity with it, you got to have an idea to have a job. And if you get out of jail and you're home free, not exactly being able to get a job right away unless you have that. So the jails are actively involved, and we've been helping them to turn that on. And so again, we'll keep showing you guys the progress that we're making with individuals and with some of these sort of group projects throughout the year. But I'm thrilled to announce, and she's been so patient through the whole meeting now, we have hired Laura Torres to be our Refugee Employer Engagement Program Specialist. This is a national grant that we were able to get along with the Louisville Workforce Board and be subcontracted for. And Laura was well known to us, and she applied. We have many great candidates, and so she will be in this space helping to turn on workplace literacy, ESL, training for qualifying refugee employees. And a nod to Chris Boggs and his team at Kobe. We've been talking to them. We've done some things with them in the past, and he's been on standby since we were writing this grant last year, and while we were getting things in motion. Hopefully we can launch something with them to do this internal staff training, staff development opportunity. But Laura, let me allow you to say hello.
Yes, thank you very much. I very much look forward to this position and establishing connections with current and potential employers, collaborating with them to identify training needs, and also coaching and support for those enrolled participants that will qualify for this training opportunity. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yep, and a commercial to anybody who has refugee employees that you might be interested. We are going to need several employers for the next 3 years. It's a 3-year grant. So we've got Kobe on our sites, but we're going to immediately need a couple more this year. So yes, please get in touch with Laura. You see her email there. And we'll be thrilled to have that conversation and start that planning.
Yes,
right.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. I did want to do the plug, but I wasn't sure.
Yes. All right, I'll turn it back to John about the Fort Campbell internship opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. So thank you. So I've been previewing this for a while, but I'll do it again. In November of 2022, we through My Workforce Future, which is our other nonprofit, we applied to be an Army Career Skills Program provider at Fort Campbell, also known as DoD Skill Bridge. 13 months later, we were finally approved. We were approved at the end of November, of last November. And so what this means is that we can act as an internship intermediary. What we can do is, now that we're part of this formal program, we can help connect exiting service members to internships with local companies at no cost to the company. We're just going to act as the intermediary. We're going to find, if you're a company that wants to do this, we're going to work with you. We're going to understand what kind of internship you want to host for 8 to 12 weeks. And then we will try to go out and find you viable candidates to interview and select. So, so this is still new. We're still working through our, I've been working with Regina Jackson on the employer agreement side. We've been working on the soldier application side. And that's all coming together quite nicely. I've got one employer that I think will sign the first agreement this week. And I'm looking for more employers. So if there's anybody on our board that would be interested in hosting a service member at no cost for a role for 8 to 12 weeks, please let me know, because I would love to have 5 to 8 different internships that we could go down and present to service members. We've already got 10 service members that have expressed interest. We've created an intake form or interest form. We've deployed it. Mike Daly, who had surgery yesterday and is recovering today, is not here, but we've already got people in the queue that are interested, and I'm just looking for partners. So anyway, it's exciting. Any
Hey,
questions?
John, do all of these folks live at Fort Campbell, or do they live around?
So Gretchen, they're somewhere in their last 180 days of military service. They're still on active duty, so they would be commuting. So geography does come into play here. I mean, to ask somebody to commute more than an hour is a tough sell.
Yeah.
So some counties are just more at an advantage than others.
Right.
All right, that concludes the sales pitch part of our board meeting. We ask you to sign up as employers for things. All right, we'll move to strategic goal 4, and John, you have this one as well, I think. Great. Yes, to do the overview.
Okay, again, strategic goal number 4 is, I call it our accountability, our return on investment. This is framed out a little bit differently than we did last year, but the first one there, improve financial sustainability. My goal, we kind of told you where we're at, and I'll tell you a little bit again here in a minute where we're at in terms of money, but I'd like to find another $250,000 grants, contracts, you name it, this year. So that's a goal. We currently do, if you see in the comment section up there, I mean, we have applied for a new grant through the Kentucky Office of Refugees for it's a $384,000 grant. Is that over 2 years?
18 months.
18 months. So we don't know where we stand on it, but we have applied for it.
We think we're the only ones that applied, so we have a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, so maybe 250 as a goal is too modest. Fiscal compliance, as always, we want to make sure that our audits are clean, that we're doing everything above board and correctly. Same programmatic compliance, same thing. We get audited twice a year programmatically. We want to make sure that those audits come back clean. In fact, the programmatic compliance, the state is monitoring this right now. That's already begun. Contract performance, this is new, but this is something that we've just got to do a better job at. We really hold 3 major contracts. We hold the contract with Career Team for WIOA services. We also hold a separate contract with Career Team for the one-stop operator, which is a singular position. And we hold a contract with our fiscal service agent, national label. So, we've got the mid-year review. That process is in place for the first one, the WIOA service contract. Ideally, I want to get to where we're doing a review of the one-stop operator contract and the fiscal service contract. We're not quite there yet, but that's a goal this year is to get that in place. And then refining the key performance indicator framework, which is everything we've presented today. Other projects. So this year is going to be a huge year in terms of board member turnover. We've got at least 8 of our 23 board members that are going to turn over in 2024. We have 3 new ones here today. So I still have 5 upcoming board members that are gonna turn over this summer, and I'm actively working with our county judge executives on finding nominations for those positions. One of the things that we have not done in a long, long time that I want to reinstitute is I want to find 2 dates this year where I can bring board members down to see the Kentucky person. We talk about it in this meeting all the time, but if you haven't been to one, it's probably hard to visualize. So I'm going to work with Mike Carter and Bernetta Douglas, and we want to coordinate a couple of dates and create an open invitation for board members to kind of come see where career development office works, see where career team works, and see exactly what they do and how we engage customers and how we serve customers. So that's a goal. And then lastly, EmployWord. I'm looking to try to generate at least $75,000 in revenue through that mechanism. And some of that's begun. All right, well, budget snapshot. Just I didn't want to create a super busy numbers heavy slide, but just to give you kind of an idea of where we are. And Holland's already presented the budget, so this is a little bit different take on it. But as Holland mentioned, between the board and career team, we're managing about a $2.9 million budget in 2024. And that's WIOA money, tornado money, Quest money, the EV battery grant, the REAP grant that Brian just mentioned. I've got 3 active contracts in place between Kentucky Adult Ed and the Warren County Fiscal Court, City of Bowling Green. So when you add all that up, we're going to manage roughly $2.9 million this year. Again, I talked a little bit about WIOA funding, always issued over a 2-year lifespan. And my goal is we've got to start stretching that out. We've got to change our budgetary practices from looking at the 12 months lens to at least a 15-month lens. And to get there, the way that we're going to get there, because we got the tornado grant extended and we got the additional $1 million, our strategy right now is to we're trying to use tornado funds first and then conserve/manage our WIOA money appropriately so that we can get ourselves into this kind of 15-month budget life cycle. So that's the plan, and really I think there's no reason we can't do it. We're on track for it. There's no reason we can't do it. I think that's it on this slide, Brian. Yes. Okay, so somehow we caught up. Somehow we made up time. But I mean, we've just fire hosed everybody with lots of information. Questions, concerns, complaints, gripes, etc. Everybody mentally exhausted.
They're ready for more policy. That's what I think.
You don't know.
Okay. She's on for a public comment.
Leslie, I think I stole your thunder asking if there were questions or discussion.
That is perfectly fine. The only thing that I do is just sort of open it up in the same way that I would do with my students and ask from this meeting today, what stood out the most to you? And this is where you respond and you tell me, here's what stood out.
You don't have a mic if you're in this room, and you don't have a mic by you, then you can get your.
So the longer I wait, the sillier I look. So what stood out? What is sticking in your memory about the meeting?
I'm raising my hand like a student. I mean, I'm new to the board, but I think it's pretty awesome that we continue adding different things like the high school event and more events to help people. So I think that's what stood out to me.
Very good. Thank you. I recognize that voice, Amy Thomas. Glad to have you.
Thanks, Leslie.
Anybody else? What stood out to you?
Brian already touched on it a little bit earlier, but I really appreciated the engagement today. Board member engagement is huge, hugely important. So I really appreciated that today.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, that's what we're working toward. So, yeah, I mean, I think to see us all communicating effectively and respectfully and, you know, getting everybody's input, that's freaking awesome. I mean, it really is. So, anything else that you have thoughts on, questions, comments?
Hey Leslie, this is Matt. So just like you see, we don't sit back and wait for customers to come to us at the Kentucky Career Center. We're really out and about just about every day. Likewise, us with the board, we're no longer just sitting back and waiting for those WIOA funds to come every year. And I know today we talked a little bit about the Quest grant. And in South Central Kentucky fashion, we had to be the best. And those are actually 2 grants that we went after. So the instructions were send us your stuff for a grant, and we had a couple good ideas. So we went out after 2 and we were awarded 2. So we're gonna continue to bring in as much money as we can, any way we can. That's legit.
And let me just say, thank you, Matt. Let me just say real quick, my son's high school held a parent night last night for 9th, 10th, 11th graders, and they talked about career plans and career pathways. And I saw our heavy equipment sciences pathway sitting on there that's offered through the Warren County ATC. And I was with Dr. Myers. I think she might still be on too. And I was just like, look at that. Look, it's live, right? Like she knows it's live. She supervises it, but for me as a parent to see that was, and Matt did a tremendous job with that. We talked about it a lot, especially in 2022, but the fact that that's there for students, and I still feel like it got sold a little short because they didn't really mention it, but it's like, man, like 18 of the 21 people got a job or an internship that finished it, that were graduating seniors, you know, like it falls a little flat when you just see it as a listed program, but that's the real effect that's happening with efforts and projects that we do, so.
There's actually employers out at the ATC this week doing interviews already.
Wow, phenomenal.
For May. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, and then one last thing for all of you on Zoom. You have not been able to see the glorious, very, I don't want to say cheap, but very cost-effective redo of the lobby at the board office. So I'm going to be posting pictures. It's all put together furniture. It's all, I mean, I scrape pennies and all that kind of good stuff. But I'll just tell you, you know, I feel like walking into the board office now, it feels real. And it feels so good to be a part of something that is doing so much good for others, and to feel like we have truly grown in so many ways. And I know a lot of you have been here since the very beginning, and you know, we have come a long, long way. And that furniture was ugly. I mean, so anyway, I just wanted to let you know I'll be posting pictures.
And there's a meeting, if you didn't come in person today, there's an opportunity in April, right? April 11th, the next one.
All right, that's it.
All right. Before we adjourn, I would just like to thank everyone for your attendance and the discussion and the collaborations. It's really great to see. Welcome to all of our new board members. Thank you for being here. And if there's nothing else today, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.